I want to start by sincerely thanking the organizers of this very important workshop on insect proteins. And I'm here to share with you and provide an overview and perspectives of current insect production and innovation in Africa. My name is Ekesi, and I work for icipe, and I'm giving the presentation on behalf of the Insects for Food and Feed and Other Uses program. This is my presentation outline. I will give you a brief introductory slides on insect biodiversity and a couple of slides on the current status of insect production in Africa for research purposes, by SMEs and for large-scale production. And then a couple of research focus, starting from parasites and diseases in culture to our policy engagement and regulations, and complete with challenges facing the sector. So insects have been around for more than 350 million years. Come to think about it, this is longer than the dinosaurs and even the flowering plants. And they account for 90% of all animal species on the planet. At any point in time, you have around 10 quintillion insects alive. With all these species, only 10 millions are known. Known in the sense that those that we really can relate to, and 10% of that have been described to species and genus level. With that huge diversity, insects form part of the traditional diet of so many people, 2 billion globally, and more than 2,000 species are believed to be consumed by humans. In Africa, slightly over 500 species are eaten by 300 million people in more than 45 countries. And the Democratic Republic of Congo is really the country where we have the highest diversity. And they are consumed for all kinds of nutrients, protein, fats, iron, and zinc, and several other minerals that I will be talking about later. Despite that, it's a meaty planet, and the bulk of the meats that are eaten are beef, pork, poultry, and sheep. And we've been witnessing an increase in global meat consumption. In the decade leading to 2017, 1.9% per year increase in global meat consumption. And the same for fresh dairy as well, 2.1% per year. And come to think about it, this is twice as fast as human population growth. Accompanying this is the demand for feed that is required for the production of the meat. 1.1 billion tons of feeds were produced in 2018. And that tells you that 4/5 of all agricultural land is basically devoted to feeding livestock, be it for pasture or cropland use for animal feed. You want to ask yourself if this is really sustainable, the speed at which we are going. And that's why insects comes to the table in terms of the protein economy debate. And of course, the reason for this workshop as well, I will believe. There are several advantages of insects versus traditional livestock, and a lot have been published on this over the years, so I don't need to spend so much time on this, be it for feed, in terms of water, space, the edible portion, and mitigation of climate change. So insect plays a crucial role in all these facets. I've been working on this subject since 1989, and as recent as 2019, I am discovering that there are still some species that have been consumed across Africa that I don't even know. For instance, Ganancia major, I just recently knew that this is a delicacy in Eastern and Southern Africa. So there's quite a lot out there that are being consumed by the human. And we are discovering a lot of species that are completely new to science. Scapsipedos icipe, for instance, we just found it in 2018. It was never known. The same with Grynos madagascarensis, quite a long name. These are new species that we are finding by the day that are edible and can be utilized both for food and for feed. When we talk about the feed, the dominant insect species is black soldier fly, but several other trials are being performed on different insect species that could be utilized also for feed. So let's talk a little bit about mass production. There are several factors to consider in insect mass production. And this could vary from collection from the wild, having the appropriate ones, down to quality control. This subject is a whole workshop, so I will not be spending much time on it, but if you want to know a little bit more about these factors, I contributed a chapter in this book, Wide Spectrum Quality Control, and you might want to read a lot more on this in this book. One of the key factors that we find that is really, really very important in insect production is temperature. In this part of the world, the bulk of the insects that we rear, optimum temperature is between 25 to 28. But we are discovering that black soldier fly, you have to go up to 35 degrees Celsius. That's unbelievable. So if you don't get this right, then your biomass in terms of yield will not be optimal. We are also been evaluating all kinds of diet. An addition of wheat brewer yeast, for instance, significantly increased biomass for black soldier fly rearing. At icipe, we pride ourselves that we can rear basically any type of insect. And over the years, since 1971, we've been able to rear over 100 different arthropod species that include insects. So sometimes I wonder why there is so much emphasis on black soldier fly when we can in fact diversify and try to explore other insects that can be produced easily. We have done a lot of work on insect rearing, and you can read more from these various publications that are highlighted here. It is important to note that a lot of SMEs are ramping up production. I'm very delighted by what we're seeing in Africa, from Ekodudu to Bobo Eco Farm, Biobo Psycho Farms in Ghana, and Insectipro in Kenya. This is really encouraging, but we need more of this because of the huge demand that is out there. And you don't really require sophisticated technology to do this at the SME level. And it's encouraging that with this simple rearing tools and infrastructure, we are able to increase your production significantly. Nevertheless, we still want to see large-scale producers, and we're happy that AgriProtein and Synergy is doing this. I believe they are represented in this workshop and will be telling us more in details as to how they are able to ramp up production to this level of quantity. Quickly on R&D focus, I'd like to highlight the importance of parasites in culture. And if you don't take care of them, they can basically wipe out everything. Eniacomorpha hermetiae, for instance, on black soldier fly, we're seeing that it's really, really very important to keep an eye on. And you can read a lot more on that in this paper. We are also finding a lot of different parasites. Diorinus hermetiae, for instance, completely new to science, the same with Ceratomaia species on Saturnids. And several mites can be found on black soldier fly as well. So a closer watch on this is important. The same with pathogens, be it Bavaria bassiana, metarhizium, and isople, and all kinds of viruses. You need to keep your surfaces clean. 7% alcohol, sodium hypochlorite must always be there. We pride ourselves to have one of the best laboratories that is working on entomopathogens on the continent, and we can help out in this should you run into trouble. Nutritional profiling, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of emphasis on black soldier fly, but you can get high level of crude protein from several other insect species as you can find it. So there is the need to diversify because you never know what happens with time. Meeting amino acids, lysine, methionine, tryptophan in abundance in insects. The same with all kinds of minerals, zinc, iron can be found in abundance in insects. Copper, selenium. And of course, lutein, very important vitamin that is very, very, very crucial for preventing oxidative degeneration of the eye, is also abundant in Serena fodder, for instance. So this can be utilized. Quickly go through growth parameters. Excuse me. We're discovering that feeding black soldier fly to chicken, you can enhance your egg production beyond 52 weeks compared to conventional feed, high quality eggs. Normally at 52 weeks, most of the birds would already be disposed or sold, but you can see keeping them when fed on insect-based feed, you can still continue to get high quality eggs. This is an indication of the overall weight gain from 1 day old chick to grower when fed on insect-based feed, which is very encouraging. The same thing with catfish, very encouraging result in terms of higher growth rate and weight gain. Your pigs get to the market fairly quickly compared to well-fed insect-based diet compared to conventional feed. We've been trying to understand, for instance, on black soldier fly, why we have this kind of results. And we find that the gut microbiome is playing a very important role. And we see a high level of diversity of different kinds of microbiome in black soldier fly. When you transfer this to poultry, it's carried over. And we believe that this is a new shift away from antibiotic use in poultry production. You are all too familiar with the case of antibiotic resistance in poultry. We've been doing a lot of work on therapeutic sterols, feeding grasshoppers, locust with wheat seedling, for instance. You can amplify this very important phytosteroid between 20 to 40 times fold, 20 to 40 folds. And this you can find in all kinds of health shops. Omega-3 fatty acids, as you can see here, very abundant in different species of insects compared to sesame and olive oil, where you only find linolenic acid. The three essential omega-3 are found in oils that have been extracted from cricket, grasshopper, locust, and termite. Insect exoskeleton is full of chitin, and this can play a very important role in inhibiting the growth of pathogenic bacteria in terms of insect chitosans. Byproducts from black soldier fly production can be used as biofertilizers and can increase yield by 63 to 71% when you compare that to commercial organic fertilizer. We've done quite a lot of work in this area as well. You can read more in these publications. So the insect-based enterprise and value chain development is really, really growing, be it for food, for feed, for fertilizer, for nutraceuticals, as well as oil. and this meeting couldn't have come at a better time. The willingness to pay is really, really important. Take, for instance, most of the poultry growers will tell us that they will prefer feeds that contain a lot of insects, 93%. So the demand is there, as you can clearly see. Recent socioeconomic study that we did showed that in the poultry sector alone, replacing 5 to 50% of the feed with black soldier fly can lift almost 3 million people out of poverty per year in Kenya, providing 252,000 jobs. This is really encouraging. And you can look at the other parameters that are there that we measured in this study. Shows clearly that there is the need to advance this sector. Safety remains an issue. We find all kinds of pathogens, no doubt, especially for those that can be, are considered for food. And we have been doing all kinds of processing techniques, still at the very early stage, be it roasting, deep frying, boiling, to see whether we can get rid of these pathogens. But there is the need to continue some work in this area. Policy engagement towards to the end of the presentation. We've been engaging a lot with regulators to make sure that this becomes acceptable. And the icebreaker was in 2016 when we had this major conference. And following this major conference, we had our first standard on the use of insect as feed in Kenya and Uganda. And we have seen the same for food as well. So we're looking at insect from the perspective of One Health, be it for animals, as we have demonstrated in this presentation, benefits to human beings, as well as plant health in terms of organic fertilizer and bioconversion of waste to manage the environment. And with this, we were able to win the Kurt Beckford's Food Planet Prize in 2020. One on challenges, regulation continues to be an issue, but we see some bright spots in Kenya and in Tanzania. So enabling environments needs to be created across different African countries. Transition to scale is crucial. As you saw, few SMEs are doing it, but we need to have more of this and to see how we can ramp up production and bring this to scale. I mentioned briefly about processing. This will be crucial even as we look at refined products that can be used either for food or for feed. We need to build partnerships between the researchers, the private sectors, the entrepreneurs to bring this to scale and building capacity of both those that are doing it and the beneficiaries. Looking forward, we need to continue to bioprospect for novel insects, diverse properties, explore new areas, and antimicrobials are a huge area, oils, enzymes, and of course, funding is a crucial thing to begin to think about, even as we think about scaling. There are a couple of donors that have supported icipe over the years in what we do, and I acknowledge them. And again, thank the organizers for the opportunity to give this presentation. Thank you very much.